When it comes to manipulation and psychological control, few characters exemplify these traits as well as Illumi Zoldyck from Hunter's Hunter. In this video, we'll delve into how Illumi's methods provide deep insights into dark psychology, helping us understand how subtle yet powerful tactics can influence those around us. The following points dissect Illumi's mastery of manipulation and explain how these techniques can teach us about influence, control, and social power. Each technique is not only a staple of dark psychology, but aligns with real psychological principles studied by experts in human behavior. Drawing from thinkers like Machiavelli, Robert Greene, and Freud, these tactics show us the hidden power behind Illumi's approach and reveal techniques that, when used ethically, can give us a strategic advantage in life. Let's examine 11 dark manipulation techniques inspired by Illumi Zoldyck and understand how to use them to command social situations with finesse. Number 1. Mastering subtle emotional detachment. One of Illumi's defining traits is his emotionally detached demeanor, a key element that keeps those around him guessing about his motives and feelings. This technique is rooted in dark psychology's principle of maintaining control by managing how much emotional visibility one shows to others. By distancing himself emotionally, Illumi creates a kind of buffer that not only shields him from being manipulated by others, but also fosters an aura of mystery that draws people in. Psychologists have noted that people who remain emotionally unreadable often evoke feelings of intrigue or even intimidation because their unpredictability keeps others on edge. This detachment also serves a practical purpose, allowing Illumi to stay rational and calculated, avoiding the impulsive decisions that might compromise his control. His approach resonates with Machiavelli's teachings, which advise leaders to avoid strong attachments, preventing any weaknesses from being exploited by others. Number 2. Using strategic silence to instill fear and uncertainty. Illumi's frequent use of silence as a tool is another potent example of his manipulative skill. Rather than speaking when most would feel compelled to fill the quiet, Illumi strategically chooses silence, creating a tense atmosphere that forces others to second-guess their actions or words. In communication psychology, silence is often used in negotiations and therapy settings to prompt the other person to fill the gap, frequently divulging more information or acting impulsively. Illumi's silence operates like a blank canvas, allowing others to project their fears and insecurities onto it, which shifts the power dynamic in his favor. By using silence in this way, he ensures that those around him are always slightly off balance and reliant on him for cues of reassurance. This tactic aligns closely with the advice in Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power, where silence is described as being potentially even more powerful than words, allowing one to maintain control of the conversation without revealing too much. Number 3. Exerting dominance with minimal effort. Illumi does not require grand gestures or overtly aggressive behaviors to establish respect and authority in any situation. A single glance or a carefully chosen word is often all he needs to command the room. This minimalistic approach to asserting dominance allows him to maintain influence without drawing unnecessary attention. Studies in social dominance suggest that individuals who use minimal physical or verbal gestures while maintaining confidence are often perceived as inherently more powerful and are respected by those around them. Illumi's ability to project authority in such an understated way highlights the power of presence and intention, effectively keeping others in line without any need for overt confrontation. This strategy is aligned with Machiavelli's philosophy in The Prince, where he advises rulers to assert their power through subtle yet impactful actions rather than loud or conspicuous displays. Number 4. Creating dependency through limited affection. Illumi's carefully measured displays of affection, particularly in his relationship with his younger brother Kilua, are crafted to foster a sense of dependency. By offering approval or affection sparingly, Illumi ensures that those close to him are left in constant anticipation, always wanting more. This technique, known in psychology as intermittent reinforcement, leads the target to feel that they must continuously work to earn any warmth or approval, which strengthens their attachment to him. This tactic is often seen in unhealthy relationship dynamics, where intermittent validation is used to create emotional dependency. Those on the receiving end find themselves increasingly willing to conform and comply in hopes of receiving the approval they crave. In Illumi's hands, this form of psychological bonding becomes a powerful tool as those affected become more vulnerable to his influence. Number 5. Cultivating fear to shape others' actions. Illumi's use of fear as a means of control is subtle, yet highly effective. He rarely makes direct threats, but his overall demeanor and reputation create an environment of caution where others are wary of going against him. This technique draws directly from Machiavelli's The Prince, which argues that fear can be a more reliable foundation for control than affection, as individuals are less likely to betray someone they fear. Illumi cultivates fear through his unchanging, cold demeanor and strategic use of silence, creating an atmosphere where others are compelled to comply with his unspoken wishes to avoid the potential consequences. This shows that fear can be established not only through overt threats, but also by maintaining an air of unpredictability that discourages defiance. Number 6. Manipulating through guilt to weaken others' defenses. Illumi leverages guilt not as a means of direct control, but as a psychological anchor that keeps people emotionally tethered to him. Unlike straightforward demands or ultimatums, guilt operates on an internal level, making it incredibly powerful in shaping behavior. The sense of indebtedness it creates makes people feel they owe him something, even if this is merely an unspoken expectation. This technique is most evident in his relationship with Killua, where Illumi subtly communicates disapproval or disappointment, implicitly suggesting that Killua is responsible for letting him down or violating some form of unspoken loyalty. Psychologist Sigmund Freud delved deeply into the role of guilt in human behavior, highlighting its ability to enforce social norms and moral standards within family dynamics. According to Freud, guilt can serve as a mechanism for internalized conflict, where individuals feel compelled to act against their own best interests to satisfy an external or parental figure. By inducing guilt, Illumi makes others hesitate to act against him, as they feel bound by an invisible chain of obligation, rendering them reluctant to sever ties. This manipulation is effective because guilt-induced bonds are harder to break than those based solely on fear or reward, creating a lasting sense of loyalty that Illumi can exploit whenever necessary. Number 7. Maintaining an unreadable expression to keep others guessing. Illumi's stoic, expressionless demeanor is not merely a habit, but a calculated strategy designed to obscure his intentions. A lack of facial expression, often referred to as a poker face, acts as a psychological shield, preventing others from deciphering his thoughts, motivations, or emotional reactions. This makes it nearly impossible for anyone to anticipate his next move. In high-stakes situations, unreadable expressions induce anxiety in those around him, as people often struggle to interpret blank faces, leading them to rely on their assumptions. This uncertainty often breeds caution or even self-doubt, as they worry about potential misinterpretations. Studies in nonverbal communication reveal that people are generally uncomfortable with ambiguity, and when they cannot discern someone's intentions, they tend to act more cautiously. Illumi's unreadable expression effectively manipulates this psychological tendency by forcing others to second-guess their actions and remain unsure of their footing. By doing so, he exerts control not by force, but by creating an environment where others feel they must be constantly vigilant, reducing their likelihood of confronting him openly or challenging his authority. This tactic is highly effective in settings where maintaining an aura of mystery strengthens his dominance. Number 8. The power of suggestion to covertly guide others' choices. Illumi skillfully employs suggestion over commands, allowing him to influence others without direct confrontation. By subtly guiding others toward a desired decision, he fosters a sense of autonomy in them, which ironically deepens their compliance. This tactic, rooted in the principles of social psychology, reveals that people are often more receptive to ideas they perceive as self-directed. When a decision feels like one's own, resistance is low, compliance is high, and individuals are more likely to act in ways that align with the manipulator's goals. This psychological strategy draws upon the concept of nudging, often discussed in behavioral economics and psychology. It involves indirect cues that lead people towards specific choices while preserving their perception of free will. Illumi leverages this subtle influence to embed his desires within the minds of others, guiding them as if by their own hand. By reframing his commands as mere suggestions, he mitigates resistance, making his influence appear seamless and natural. In a way, he becomes a puppeteer whose strings are invisible, rendering his manipulative hand nearly undetectable, yet undeniably effective. Number 9, keeping relationships purely transactional. Illumi's approach to relationships is coldly pragmatic. Unlike others who form emotional bonds, Illumi sees relationships through a purely transactional lens, where people are valued solely for their usefulness. This Machiavellian approach allows him to maintain control over his emotions, which can often be the Achilles heel in strategic power dynamics. Emotional detachment provides him with a unique advantage. He can manipulate others or sever ties without hesitation or regret. Transactional relationships, studied extensively in psychology, indicate that when interactions are goal-oriented and emotionally distant, they're less likely to be swayed by personal feelings. Illumi's detachment from emotional investments keeps him focused on his objectives, rendering him immune to emotional manipulation himself. By reframing relationships as tools for advancement, Illumi ensures that his judgment is unclouded by sentimentality, making his manipulations purely tactical. This approach is a testament to the depth of his Machiavellian traits, as he maintains the upper hand without risking emotional vulnerability. Number 10, controlling perceptions by framing narratives. In every interaction, Illumi is acutely aware of how others perceive him. Rather than allowing people to interpret his actions freely, he actively shapes their perspective by framing narratives that reinforce his image as a dependable and formidable figure. Framing, a psychological concept studied in social psychology, involves selectively presenting information to influence how events or actions are understood. By controlling these narratives, Illumi ensures that his behavior is interpreted positively, even when his actions are self-serving or manipulative. This tactic creates a cognitive bias in others as they start to see Illumi's cold demeanor as a symbol of strength rather than a lack of empathy. In politics, business, and social settings, framing is used to guide others' opinions and reactions, making it one of the most powerful tools for managing public perception. Illumi's skill in framing his actions allows him to maintain a subtle but influential control over those around him, as he carefully crafts the way they perceive his motives and authority. Number 11, anchoring emotional reactions to maintain influence. Illumi's use of anchoring is one of his most sophisticated psychological strategies. Anchoring involves linking emotions or reactions to specific cues, creating a lasting association that can be triggered in the future. By embedding himself in the memories or emotions of others, Illumi ensures that his influence endures, even in his absence. For instance, he might use emotionally charged experiences to create psychological associations that keep others tied to him, leading them to recall him whenever they encounter similar triggers. Anchoring is a technique commonly used in therapeutic settings to form positive associations with certain behaviors, but Illumi weaponizes this psychological principle to manipulate others. This technique allows him to maintain a lingering presence in people's minds, ensuring that his influence remains pervasive. By anchoring emotional memories to himself, Illumi effectively haunts those around him, guiding their decisions and actions from afar. This tactic, although subtle, establishes a deep-rooted control that can be difficult to sever, as people unconsciously act in ways that align with his desires due to the emotional anchors he's embedded in their minds. You've just learned some of the most advanced techniques in dark psychology that go beyond common persuasion tactics. By applying these strategies, you can take control of any situation, gain the upper hand in negotiations, and understand the deeper dynamics at play in social interactions. Remember, the key to using dark psychology effectively lies in subtlety, strategy, and ethical consideration. When done correctly, these techniques not only help you achieve your goals, but also navigate social dynamics with a level of finesse that gives you an edge in any situation. If you want to master dark psychology and manipulation, please check out this dark psychology playlist. Don't forget to subscribe for more insights on dark psychology, unconventional success strategies, and how to master the lone wolf mentality. Thanks for watching.